Been concerned about that whistle tonight. Kobe Bryant makes a baseline move, crossover, step back, good, and a foul.
What's going on, y'all? We have a Kobe breakdown. We are going to be doing one of the moves that made me really fall in love with the shimmy jab, and it was the shimmy jab to the under drag that Kobe did on Terrence Ross and won. This move right here made me realize that Kobe did something that was different with his jab and with his first steps, and that was a shimmy. And when he goes into a shimmy, what he wants to do, or what he did very well, is make sure that he has that weight distribution to rock back toward his pivot foot. So in this case against Terrence Ross, he had his left foot as his pivot. He went to step out, does this really well, having a controlled or calm tempo with his off pivot foot step. And when he lets that foot hit, or in the act of letting it hit, what he does with ball and weight distribution is he allows it to shift back toward his pivot. Now when we teach our shimmy jabs, we want to make sure that there's 3 points of reference, 3 cells to each fake. One is going to be the core, kind of rocking or shifting back. 2 is going to be that weight distribution, shifting and leaning onto the left side of the frame, so allowing our body to load up. And the third one is going to be the ball. So 1, 2, 3, all shift, and that gets Terrence Ross to freeze. Now, when they freeze, the defender freezes, that gives Kobe and us, when doing this move in the game, the split second to attack. Now, on this next step, he goes to his attack, and what Kobe realizes when he takes that first dribble step is that Terrence Ross turns his body to get into a run. So we call these like, oh crap moments, where the defense has to sprint to either stay in front or to catch up to you. So as that cross-body step occurs by Terrence, Kobe sees it, and then right as he sees it, that next extended step that he takes with the right foot, he plants and drags the ball back as Terrence takes another complete step, creates all this space, and Kobe gets into a full replacement for his shot. It's a beautiful acknowledgement of the move that he made to start off, creating this disadvantage for the defender. Then once he realized that Terrence took that first step, pulling that ball back right away, so that way he can get into a shot. If Kobe continued his dribble, he knew that Terrence was in that full stride to where he could have contested at the rim, especially for Terrence Ross. He's got a bounciness to his game. So Kobe knew exactly what he needed to do based off of what the defense gave him. That's one thing that I want you guys to realize. Everything is a read and react. Even though this is a move breakdown, I'm teaching you guys how to do the shimmy jab, how to do that drag. We have to be able to read our defender properly. Now backing it up to that drag, that point of emphasis on the drag, is Kobe lets ball extend, and he allows his weight to load onto that outside foot. So it's not just like he steps into space and keeps all his weight back into space. He loads weight up and then drags ball back, and this gives him the opportunity to push that weight back and get into a controlled shot. So phenomenal way, phenomenal move to not just control your momentum going forward, but rather also control it coming back to space, so that way you get into a controlled separation, keep that space, and get a little bit of additional space after the fact. Let's go through a couple of reps of me going through this rep. I want you guys to see it, see Kobe do it, and then watch as we slow it down, so that way you guys can learn this move properly and then use it in your game. Now, I know I just talked about what we saw, but let's talk about the things that we didn't see. I actually want to go over 2 additional options that if the defender played a little bit differently, I want you guys to be able to see how Kobe could have read it. So the first action, the shimmy jab still works because 9 times out of 10, the shimmy jab worked for Kobe, and it can work for you. So we get into that attack. Now, if the defender is really far behind, delayed, we have option to continue. Even if they maybe are a little bit shorter, so you know you have the advantage of getting to the rim, and they're tighter to the frame, you still know that you can get to the cup. So I want you guys to practice your finishes off that one dribble, getting to the basket. Now the second option that could have happened is if the defender played a little bit tighter after the first. So once again, shimmy works, because we already established that it usually does. But now as we take that first dribble step, instead of that gap between us and defender starts playing a little bit closer to frame. Now if I have that defender closer to the frame, whether they run to play catch up in that oh crap moment, or they're sliding with me really well, playing good defense, instead of me dragging the ball underneath, which is going to come back right into their frame, we can go into a punch strat. It's still a form of stop separation, so it still allows us to get into that drag situation. But instead of dragging the ball underneath, we're just going to punch ball right toward the heel or the pinky toe of that extended step. So in this case, as we get into that stop, we allow that ball to hit right outside the right side of our body, and then we still, once that happens, are able to come back to space to create that additional separation. This is a more structured, controlled stop separation because it keeps that ball tight to the frame and away from that defender's position. Now, if this is the case where defender's playing a little bit tighter, then we can also use that off arm to engage them. Give them a little chicken wing on that last dribble to throw them off our frame, push back to create a little bit of space, and then come back to get to our shot. Let's go through a few reps so we can see exactly what I'm talking about. Bonus tip for you guys. Now, just in case that one time where a shimmy jab isn't hitting, maybe our timing is off, okay, you want to be able to get into a shimmy jab. Now, that's a great way to just tease your defender, test their frame, get them to kind of move around, jump around, so that way you can see how exactly they're playing you. Now, after you hit that little shimmy jab and get them to move, as soon as they come back from that drop stance, be able to go into another jab option, or another shimmy, or a shot fake. But we always want to attack on that closeout, and that's the beautiful component of using jabs, not just to go, but to set up our defender, is because it creates this closeout opportunity where if you just jab at somebody and they drop back in stance, that next step forward is going to be when we want to make that next quick jab action, or shot fake action, or go action, to take advantage of the defender's momentum coming toward us. Let's do a couple of reps for y'all just so you can see it, but use this. It's gonna be clutch for your games.
Been concerned about that whistle tonight. Kobe Bryant makes a baseline move, crossover, step back, good, and a foul.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. This is the one possession that made me fall in love with the shimmy jab and made me able to use it in my games on a consistent basis. Make sure you follow along this breakdown, and then follow along with all our other tutorials. We got a grip of great ones. They're gonna help you guys with your game. Peace. God bless. Yeah.